All right, good morning. Let's get the chats shuffled around here. Started. Let's see. There we go. Let me pause a couple of these previews. We don't really need this running. Need this one running. All right, here we are. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim, and I go by Fomaguy on the GitHub and Discord. We are picking up where I mentioned last night that I would start today, which is on this Game & Watch game. So we'll be working on a PyGamer version of that. Just to take a quick step back, though, for folks that might be new, if you don't know where we're at or what we're working on, we are working on a project called CircuitPython. In this case, we're making a project with CircuitPython, and CircuitPython is a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. This one here I have it's called a PyGamer, but obviously it's inside this printed case, so we can't see too much of it. I'll pull up the page for it here. You can get a better look at the actual device I'm using. So, essentially there's a tiny computer on the back of this thing. This chip right here is a computer that can run this Python code that we are writing. And then in this case, of course, it has this sort of game, handheld game form factor, A/B button, start select, joystick on the left, and, a screen there in the middle. So, perfect little device for making your own handheld games. And we're going to do that with CircuitPython. The specific game I'm interested in is this old school Game & Watch. So Game & Watch is a Nintendo thing. These were like some handhelds they released, I think in the 80s, right? Yeah, in the early 80s. These were, I think, maybe even, I don't know when NES came out, but these must have been early Nintendo things before they really started the model of like the main system and then the game separate, right? These are, as far as I'm aware at least, these are all kind of like, built-in single games. Like this device had the Octopus game on it, and then from what I understand, the Game & Watch is that this device also had like a watch, a timekeeping device. It could tell you what time it was. So there's two kind of modes on this thing. I'm mostly interested in the game for right now. But that's what this device was all about. And so we are just making a modern, CircuitPython version of this thing. I will mention too, yesterday during the deep dive, we talked about the Edmund Scientific company. I don't recall exactly who it was. Somebody asked me about that. DJ Devon, though, over in the Discord chat, posted a message later on. And they actually went to Edmund Scientific as a kid. So they describe a bit about what it's like and some of the differences between Adafruit and them. So this was cool. This was a nice read to see this morning, like follow up on that place to get, start to paint more of a picture of that place, because I was not previously aware of that Edmund Scientific company. Okay. Just to wrap up the intro, so again, CircuitPython is what we're working on, trying to make this game today. CircuitPython is an open source project, though. Like, anybody can help contribute to it. It's all hosted on GitHub. All the developers collaborate in Discord, so head to the Discord that's showing down there, and hit circuitpython.org if you want to learn more about it or get involved. And the last thing I'll mention is CircuitPython is primarily funded by Adafruit, this company here based out of New York. They make hardware and software, and they are, paying the team that works on CircuitPython. Some of the folks work on it, full-time. It's a full-time job that they're paid for. Some of the folks are part-time like me, and they pay all of us to work on the project and, make projects using CircuitPython and documentation and updates and all kinds of stuff like that. So definitely huge thanks to Adafruit, and then also thanks to anybody who will purchase hardware from them if you are trying to find some electronic hardware. So I've downloaded a couple of these sprite sheets. The first thing I'm going to do is just cut out a little bit of the sprites. I'm not going to, we'll see where we get to. I'm going to try to keep it to more of the software side of things if I can. So I'm not going to go through and do like all of my image editing and stuff on stream, but what I am going to do is cut out a piece, one or two pieces that we're going to be able to use for testing some things, because first thing I want to do is figure out how I'm actually going to code this from a bit of a mechanical perspective. Like, are we going to use a bunch of individual images like this one? I've downloaded, well, I thought I had downloaded a couple sprite sheets. I do only see one here though, so I'm wondering, was I like overwriting them each time or something? Because this is one of them, but it's actually a different, there are a few of these available. Not sure exactly which one I'll end up using, or perhaps we'll have some amalgamation of them. Is that not downloading, or has 5.8.5.6.9? Oh, this is a different place, I see. Where even is this? Why would I save anything here? Strange. Okay. Okay, which means also the other ones, I guess, that I have downloaded recently are going to be somewhere random, although they don't even show in here. I don't know, I tried to download a couple of these. Maybe we'll use one, maybe we'll cut out some parts from a couple of them, maybe we'll mix and match a bit. It's going to kind of depend. So one thing we're going to have to do is resize it. I do know that, to fit the PyGamer. And then we'll like figure out, are we going to use kind of the full screen looking thing like this, or are we going to stack up layers of all the pieces we need? How are we going to handle the tentacles? That's kind of stuff that I want to figure out. And one of the tests I want to do is essentially figure out if we're going to fit in RAM. Like, can we have different tile grids for each of these segments of the Octopus arms? If we could, then, and if we have enough RAM to do that, then I think that will be simplest, because then we can just hide and show each of those segments, and that's kind of the primary functionality. But I need to see, like, if we draw a background and then we create all those bitmaps, one for each segment, does that use up too much memory? So that's kind of the first thing I want to do. I am gonna go back and try to grab another one of these that I thought I had downloaded, but it seems like it didn't downloaded to a weird spot and is not showing it to me now. Yeah, see here, it's like, I don't even know what this user 1000 doc. Weird, I don't feel like it's ever prompted me to download anything there before. Okay. I think these were the three that I had before. This was the first one I found, and I think we may probably plan to use this one for the most part, but it might be nice to cut out some parts from the other one or use them for some different things. So one thing we need to decide is like how we're going to layer it all up. I think I like the idea of just using this one here in the background, and then maybe even putting the octopus head into it, because the octopus head and main body segment doesn't like move, I don't think, or do anything. So we could actually kind of put that in the background. Let me catch up on the chat here as well. How's it going, folks? C. Grover. Oh yeah, talking about the TFTs. TFTs causing the temperature sensor to read high. Let's see, that's a neat idea, and one that's probably what an onboard sensor is truly for, I guess. Projects uses onboard temperature sensor. Oh, interesting. Yeah, use the heat to know when to turn up and down the brightness. That's pretty cool. Ifrit's catalog is a dream factory full of project ideas. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think, yeah, let's start by just taking the background here and cutting it out, resizing it to fit the PyGamer, And then I think we'll maybe try to paste part of the octopus in. I don't know how easy that's going to be, but we'll see where we get. And again, we're going to have a lot of more editing, or I'm going to probably want to cut out more of this stuff that I'm not going to do probably on stream unless we get, a good chunk of the code straightened out. But for a little while, what we can do is just use the assets kind of differently. Like, I'll cut out one chunk of a tentacle and we'll just repeat it, so it won't look right, but functionality wise we'll be able to spawn a bunch of them and hide them and show them and such. Oh, I see. Okay, he's got like the ship over here. I think maybe I'm going to take this one and keep it on its own layer as well, because it will make it easier for us to line up the octopus with where it goes, since it has like the ghosty version in the background there. And possibly maybe we'll even use that version, I don't know. Maybe it looks kind of nice. So the original game was like not a a screen, but it was like a liquid crystal display. I think that's what these LCDs. So like there's just basically segments that it can turn on or off, and you can really see them. It looks more like this when you look at it. You can kind of see them faintly when you look at it, even when they're not lit. But this will make it easier for us to line stuff up at a bare minimum, and then we could always just hide this layer, when we're ready. So let's resize it first of all. We want PyGamer size, which is, I'm going to double check just so I don't get it wrong. I want to say 160 by 128? 148? Something like that, I think. Learn guides, RSS blog posts, Hackspace magazine. There's always something to keep the noodle grooving. Yeah, for sure. Of course, Discord. Yeah, the Discord is a great resource. It's nice to have a place where so many knowledgeable folks are hanging out. You can kind of pick the brains of, get ideas on, get feedback on, just share your own projects and stuff. It's a very neat community for sure. It's one of my favorite things about the project and stuff is the community and the folks around it. All the collaboration. Can't forget YouTube videos. Yep. There, so I think we should be, maybe if we search 160 by 128. So we'll just scale this down, 160 by 128. It's gonna get warped a little bit, doesn't fit exact. I mean, I guess we could leave a bit of space at the top if we wanted for text, or I mean at the bottom, top or bottom really, so, because we scale and we preserve aspect ratio, we're going to be at 160 by 107, which means we have about 21 pixels of empty space on the top or bottom, or I guess we could split it and do like 10 pixels on the top, 11 pixels on the bottom, 20 pixels. I mean, that's like 1/6 of our pixels. I think I want to just scale it. It'll get warped a little bit, but it's it's pixely graphics anyway and stuff. Like, I think it's not gonna mess it up too bad. But yeah, I think instead of I'm gonna unlock it and I'm gonna do 128 on the height. Scale that. Maybe we should go, let me actually undo this first. Let's maybe go to mode indexed first, because I think then when it scales it will not get as fuzzy, if I understand right. Because I do still want kind of the pixelated edges. I mean, not pixelated, but I want like the hard pixel edges like the original. I don't want those to look fuzzy really. They still do, kind of. It's not too bad, though. We got less fuzzy, I think, because it doesn't have as many colors to play with, so it can't make as many of those in-betweens. Which I think I like that look better, so we'll leave it like that, and then I'm going to scale this layer as well. and then we're going to fit the image to it. Okay. And we got both of these here. So I think we should just go ahead and include the main octopus body inside of the background. This is going to be our background image. I'm thinking we're going to show this image with a on-disk bitmap. And then some of the foreground ones will use image load. One thing we should do is maybe pull up the gameplay. YouTube, Game & Watch, Octopus. I pulled this up the other day. Take a look at it. Turn dithering off. Unsure if your program has that. Dithering is part of what creates. When we guys live now, on a Saturday. Yeah. Saturday is my usual. Is my usual stream time. Yep. I started with this stream before I ever did the deep dive. How's it going, Johnny? Thanks for tuning in, hanging out. You have some scrolling text that encourages the game player in Pirate, of course. You could have scrolling text if we left a little bit of extra space. You could scroll it along the top. I mean, we could really scroll it over the background as well. Turn off dithering. Let's see if we could figure out how to do that. Turn off dithering. So GIMP disable dithering. On export, we don't necessarily want to do it on export, but like. Bit depth beyond 8. I'm sure it can. But I don't know how for sure. Banding. Lower bit depth. Filter noise spread. This is talking about GIFs too, though. Option to turn off dithering. Closed. 0.101. Excessive dithering got fixed potentially. I think I'll try it like this for a bit. We can always still make a new one as well. If we do figure it out later on, we could always just make a new one and scale it to the same size and substitute it in as the background. I'll save the GIMP file as well so we can keep it and use it. It goes down here. What is this? Corner there. Let's hit the video. Let's see. Might look pixelated after scale, but during export. Oh, okay. I see. Oh, okay. Game A, Game B. I don't know that we necessarily. I'll have to look into it, I guess. I think that's one mode is the game and one mode is the watch for Game A, Game B, but maybe not. Maybe there's actually two games. So the idea here is you have two buttons, right? Left and right. Those are your two buttons. And it's basically, it's better thought of, I think, as forwards and backwards. So when you start in the boat, you got to go down, you got to go over, you got to pick up treasure from the chest, and then you got to go back and back up to get to the boat. You drop off your treasure at the boat, it increases your score, and then you just keep doing that. And you can, I believe you can collect multiple treasures. So like you can go down and over to the treasure, and then like back one and forward one, back one and forward one, and as long as you don't get hit by the tentacles, you'll keep collecting those treasures, but you don't get points for them until you drop them off in the boat. So that's kind of the basic gameplay, and my guess is, my understanding is that the very, very end of the tentacles, the ones without any holes cut in them, because like all the rest of these tentacle pieces, they have a little cutout bit, but the very end ones don't. So what I'm thinking, the way it works is like when that end one without the cutout is out, if it's showing, and the diver is right next to it, then it counts as the octopus capturing the diver. And when that happens, the diver gets grabbed like this, And maybe, like, does it shake it around a little bit? Or, oh, his arms and legs move. Right there. Oh, the finger's in front of it, though. Yeah, you kind of wags his arm and legs a little bit, and then you lose that diver. And I think you get 3 divers per game, per gameplay or whatever. So yeah, definitely the main body is static. So I do think we can put that in the background. The ship as well, if it's not... Okay, the ship's already there. So, is the main body different in any of these? It doesn't look like it, really. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to take a square pretty much like this. Rectangle, I guess, not a square. Going to copy that, and then I'm just going to cut out some of the tentacles in this one by just drawing background on top of them. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff where there's going to be more of this kind of stuff to do. And, obviously I'm doing a bit of it here, but I'm not going to do all of the assets in the whole game today with this stuff, on stream at least. But I'll do enough that we can get coding and then start building out some of the actual, like, technical way the game is going to work inside the code. And then this stuff we'll keep because this is part of the main body. It's basically covered up by the ship. It's made to look like it's behind the ship. So there's our main body. So now what we can do is I also want to just take the black. So I'm going to go select by color. Black. Copy, Control C. So one thing actually though, we need to get it scaled. Do I want to scale it first? I think what we'll do is paste it to its own new layer. And now this is 140 by 76. I'm going to keep a text pad here with some numbers. So we started at... Basically, we need to know the ratio that we scaled it. I mean, I could eyeball this, but I think it's probably going to be best to get the ratio and then start from there and then eyeball it till it looks as good as it can. 240 by 160 was our original size. We downscaled to 160 by 128. So that means that we have 2 different ratios as well because we didn't preserve aspect, which is okay. I'm quite sure I actually played that game at some time in your life. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I never did get a chance, although I may try to find one. I think these things still float around out there on eBay every now and then, so I may try to pick one up, especially after I build it. Just to kind of see, like, because I'm kind of going to build the details off of YouTube videos and stuff. It'd be nice to play it one day and just see, like, if there was any differences. Okay, so our ratio for the width was, how does that, we want to go 160 over 240, is that right? Basically 2/3. So, and then just to verify, if we multiply this by 240, that's where we get our 160. Yeah, perfect. So then the height ratio is 128 over 160. It's 0.8. And again, just to make sure I'm actually understanding what I'm doing, if we multiply that by 160, we're going to get to 128. So now we know that the section of Octopus that I cut out here, this is 140 by 176. So what am I going to take it down to? So we are going to multiply 140 by 0.666 repeating. In fact, I'll even get back to the calculator's unrounded version or whatever by redoing the beginning to 40 and then multiply that by 140. So then we'll go down and just say 93. Clear that one. 0.8 was not a repeating, so I'll just hard code 0.8 times 176. Wait a minute. No, not 176. Okay, yeah, I was like, how could that's taller than it is wide. Still don't understand how you're able to talk and program at the same time. A lot of practice, and I'm better at it sometimes than others. Sometimes I do get distracted and talk a little more than I program. But yeah, a lot of practice, honestly. I was just looking into it actually the other day. I'm just about over a year, like a year and 2 or 3 months or so since I started streaming more regularly. So it's definitely gotten a lot more, a lot easier over time. So times 76, yeah, that's where we're at here. So not 176, but just 76. 60.8, so that one I guess we could still round down. Also, this is where that last bit there, we'll just kind of eyeball it and figure out what looks good. So 93 over 60, height and width. So we would grab this, we would go resize. We don't want the chain link. 93 over... Well, this says 59, though. Right, because it's a smaller box. Okay, so I crunched the wrong numbers. We actually need to do 130 and 59. That is the size we ended up with on our Octopus there, actually. Yeah, we don't want the full box. We want just the box that does bound the Octopus, because that's what we copied in. So 130 times that 0.6 repeating, which was... I wish I had a 9 pad for this, like a number pad. Whoops. Times 130. Call it 86. 0.8 times 59. 47. $86 by 47 with this one, so unlinked. Oh, that's weird that it moved. I trust that. I'm gonna just back out and then get back. 86 by 47. That should be roughly sized with it. It is a little fuzzier than I'd like, but are we still on? We are still on mode, yeah. See what we do See what we can get when we located. Or let's see what's directive backwards, interpolation, linear, flipping, adjust, image opacity. Oh, preview. Yeah, some of these possibly affect it, but I don't know. And the other thing is maybe if we sharpened the layer afterwards or something. Sharpen? Something like that to it? This says preview, but I don't know if it's like... Oh, neat. I don't really see it making much of a difference, though. Let's see here. Context switching, something I aspire to develop someday. Everyone going ham on the 60% keyboards, but I can't live without my numpad and media buttons. Like you, have a full PC. Oh, okay, well I don't have a tiny keyboard. My keyboard is far from tiny. It just doesn't have, well, and the thing is it does have a 9-pad. I'm not used to using it. I don't like it the way it is. You have to put it in another mode. So I have a Kinesis Advantage 2, no, Advantage only. Kinesis Advantage. Why? I just want the image. Why do we gotta be this way, Google? So, well, this is an Advantage 2, but it's laid out the same way. So, these keys here are actually the 9-pad, but you have to push keypad. You have to push this button up here to put it in keypad mode, and then these are the 9-pad. And if you want to go back to typing letters, then you have to push keypad to get it back to not keypad mode. And so obviously, like, this is pretty big. I guess there's nothing in this for scale, but there's a little bit of things in this one for scale. Headphones. This also feels warped a bit. Hands. There's hands for scale. Somebody's hands at least. So it's pretty big as far as keyboards go, although of course it doesn't have keys covering the whole thing, so it doesn't necessarily make use of the entire space it does have. But the gist, like the point of it, is to stop you from having to move your hands as much. All the keys are in the spot that is designated like easiest to get to, you know, by Kinesis. You know, it's going to be different for different people, right? If you have different sized hands and stuff, but okay, so we're also zoomed in 300. Once we get zoomed to 100, the blurriness is actually not nearly as bad either. So I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be just fine like that. So for now, let's save the GIMP file so that we don't lose it. Let's turn off this layer. Let's export a copy of this as a BMP. Yep. That makes sense. Also means you're going to be kind of lost without... Yeah. Yeah. I would like to say that it's not as bad as it might be, but honestly it is. Like, if when I do go to the office these days, I don't always take it with me if I'm not going to be there for that long. And yeah, typing on a like laptop keyboard or just even a standard keyboard is... like, I'm slower now than I was before because of using this one. I'm faster at typing on this one than a standard one, even back then, before I picked up the Kinesis. But yeah, it does wreck entirely going the other way. If I go to a regular keyboard, I'm like, I can't, I'm all fumbly, can't do it anymore. One of the biggest and most amusing problems is that backspace on this is left thumb, and space is right thumb. But on a regular keyboard, of course, backspace is in the middle with both thumbs. So what happens is when I use a regular keyboard, I am trying to type a space, but I end up backspacing, or vice versa. I'm trying to, okay, yeah, I'm trying to backspace. So I'm trying to backspace, so I'm hitting with my left thumb, but it's actually typing a space because it's a regular keyboard. So then I get an extra space, and then I'm trying to backspace the extra space. And like subconsciously, I hit it with my thumb again and make another space. And I hit it like 4 times, trying to backspace each space that I keep making until I finally, it clicks and I undo it all and wish I brought my Kinesis with me. It's usually the way that that goes. Which is kind of amusing, truthfully. When it happens, I usually do have to stop and laugh at myself for a minute, because, like, it's ridiculous. All I know is 1 + 1 is 5. It's close to 5, sort of, a bit. How's it going there? Schmelly York in the Twitch chat. So we've got our BMP here. We're going to grab that. We can put it on our device. For now, I'm just going to throw it in the root. We may eventually organize it into, you know, folders or something. Probably give it a slightly better name, maybe. GAW, Game & Watch, Octo background. So this is the slider puzzle I've already got here. Is it the same? Yep, content's identical. So we can just empty out CodePy. We already have a copy of the code that's in it. Import. Let's do the individual ones. From display.io, import on disk, bitmap, tile grid. Yeah, let's start with that. Import board. Not sure if we need anything else. Let's start with just that. So we want to make a ondisk bitmap, which takes a file. And something else. Not something else. That's it. I think there is another optional one, or honestly, I generally always copy from the display learn guide, but I'm trying to get my kind of like muscle memory down for actually writing it out. We do have that. Then we need a tile grid, BG tile grid, which gets the bitmap, and then X and Y maybe. pixel shader, that one's going to be important. X and Y would be optional. In this case, we have the whole screen, so we're just going to leave it 0, 0, I think. We will need a group as well, yep. I mean, I guess we could do it without a group, but we don't want to. We want to have a group. Okay, got our tile grid in the group. We're going to show the group. We should get a display. Oh, main. I don't even have a main. Speaking of main, should have a main loop. I think that's all we need, probably. I could be wrong. Yep, I was wrong. This is file or directory. Background. Isn't that what I saved it as? There we go. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. That's not on this screen. Once you get it down to this size screen and you have it at 100%, like it's back to that pixelated look. Doesn't really have the blurry edges. So that's a good background, I think. So let me cut out one tentacle piece, and then we're gonna make a bunch of bitmaps and see if we start running into memory issues. So one thing is I'm not entirely sure, like, what's the difference between, well, okay, this one's like curved down a bit. I guess that's like when he's got a hold of the diver. So there are actually these pieces, which maybe we could make a tile grid with these pieces as like the two different tiles, and then it can just swap back and forth between them, and that will cover the shaking of the hands and feet there. You kind of like that idea, rather than having individual ones for, you know, each leg or each hand or everything in there. You can have that square just be part of it there. So we'll cut that one out later. For now, though, I do want to work on, I think, tentacle pieces. So does this, it's sometimes interesting. Okay, it sometimes reaches out, then it sometimes reaches down. But I suspect it would never do both, right? Like, this is just a picture that contains everything. But in the actual game, I suspect that one would go one way or the other. Is that right? Well, actually, in the actual game, does it have that? Yeah, I guess it's not out. Okay. Actually a bit different, right? The tiles are not the exact same, are they? This is kind of like this nice triangle bit. But this one is not quite as triangle-y. It's more like a four-sided polygon, kind of. So it's got the two flats where this can go one way or the other. I do think this sprite is from a remake, though, right? Like, it's from like a Game Boy version or something. Be cool to find sprites of the original one, but obviously it's like LCD, right? So it didn't necessarily have like sprite image files necessarily. Sounds like a way to give yourself Tourette's. Yeah. I feel the same about using one monitor. Yeah, I'll agree with that as well. I definitely rely on my multiple monitors pretty heavily. But yeah, maybe we'll... I don't know if the original game, it doesn't seem like this one does go down ever, so maybe we will simplify it and just have that first arm go out. It looks like there's four... To me, it looks like there's four tentacles that primarily interact with the diver. That one going out, this one going down, this one going down, and this one going down right next to the treasure. Oh, it does go down. Okay. But yeah, but not at the same time though. So it's almost like that one tentacle is special. This one that goes out can either go out or it can go down. But the rest of these, I think, just go one place. Now, of course, the ones here can grab the, they get depicted grabbing the diver. But that's kind of like their own special mode. When they're actually just extending, they just always extend to the same place, it looks like. Yeah, like this one, it curves, but that's only because it's grabbing the diver, I think. Although it is not included in this square here. Okay. So let's start by just cutting out one of these tentacle segments, and then what I'll do is I'll create a bunch of tile grids. I'll load a bunch of them that contain it, and then we'll just plot them around in different places and see if we're starting to run into memory trouble or not. Actually should get a smaller section, I think. Might as well drop real close to the bit we actually want. I hope we do still have the cutout in the middle after we scale it. If not, I may need to like kind of artificially put that back. So we ended up here 29 by 13. I don't know how many sixes it will let me put, but I'll just put it like this for now. 18 and a third. This should, I mean, it is going to be fairly small, so that's the good news is, I mean, it shouldn't take that much memory per one of these, but of course we are going to need a fair number of them here. Pretty good. Maybe we want to go we want to go like 1 pixel more to the right, maybe? So that one we're going to take and put in its own file like this. I maybe need to come up with some naming scheme for how I'm going to call the tentacles in the file names. I don't know if that's what I'll stick with, but for now I'll say tentacle 0, segment 0. We'll basically just say the first segment that my code draws will be considered segment 0. So obviously the arm here is part of the body, so that's in the background. This would be the first one that my code's drawing, and then we'll have to make a designation as well for going outwards versus going downwards, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. Take this, and I'll just drop it in the here for now, but obviously I think we'll eventually end up with a folder. So we need image load now. Let's see here. Some tentacles could be part of the background and then covered by a masking polygon layer when graphing object that changes size. Yes. I may go that route if we end up running into memory issues, having each bitmap be different, because then then all the pieces are actually in the on-disk bitmap, and we need fewer segments in their own separate thing. Plus, they could also be maybe shape or vector IO polygons that are cut out to cover the right spot. Might be tedious to make all of them, or make one that. And theoretically, you could make one that actually is irregular. I think maybe that's a proper use of that term, but maybe not. That's not a regular looking shape, but like a coastline looking thing that would actually cut out all the parts needed. It would probably save RAM. We may end up having to do something like that. I'm gonna try with each of these being different bitmaps first, though. That's kind of weird looking, I don't know. We may end up changing this or making it a dictionary or something, probably is where we'll ultimately end up, but does it need anything else for image load? Yeah. Okay, that's optional. Honestly, both of those might be optional. I think let's try it without. We do need to catch the palette too, though. Honestly, they're all gonna have the same palette, which is, well, maybe that's not true. Just a couple shades of black, maybe. So for this, we can $57.40. I may maybe make a JSON file that has all of these mappings of, segment names and locations. That way the code to show them can be a little more, not just a gigantic list of tile grids being created and moved, not implemented error. Did I not copy the file? True color BMP? And not make it, let's see. Should we have done that before we copied it over? I guess the one we copied over would have automatically got converted because that file we pasted it into was already indexed, but that does look like the fuzzy version actually. 740. I suppose it doesn't matter ultimately if we're using this one mostly for just the size, but $741. See what it looks like on 40. Oh. What? Right, we have a transparency problem. What we need to do is make a transparency color. I thought the pencil was not supposed to... Oh, we have 8? There we go. I think I want that one extra one in there. Let's see. Would it run faster using a polygon mask that updates its shape through math versus tile grid icons? I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, you would have to try both and measure. I think the tile grids, I think the way I'm headed here with each of these being in their own tile grid feels the easiest to me. So that's the route that I'm gonna like try first and then change course if that doesn't work, because I think everything else, to me at least, seems a little bit harder. Because like if we have to do the polygons, then not only do we need to track, you know, the location of each one of these things, so like 5741, the place that it occupied within the larger one, but we also need to track points that make up a polygon that covers this thing. So we have to track like a bunch of extra points per tentacle segment, which means the amount of data, like hard-coded data, will be higher, the data entry will take longer, and the code will be a little bit more just like a giant wall of values. Whereas I'm hoping this way, if we can get it wrapped in a dictionary or something, or a list, and somehow load it more like in a loop, we can kind of like not necessarily hopefully have to have as much, as many different specific values tracked in the code in order to make it work. We won't really need points for all the places around this. We do need the point for the location where it's gonna start, where it is on the screen, but not a location for the polygon that can cover it up. All the points that make up a polygon that can cover it up, I should say. We will need to make green transparent. Nice. Yeah, so we got it drawn there. It's looking pretty good. Liking that. Okay. So now I'm basically gonna make a bunch of copies of this one, place them in a bunch of different locations, just to like kind of get a sense for how much RAM we have available. So how many do we actually need? Be one question. If we wanted one bitmap for every tentacle, we would need the one we have, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 12? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Let's start with 19 tentacles, but then we will of course need divers, we'll need the shaking thing here, we'll need the ones in the boat up here. But let's start with making 19 tentacles, and let's just round it up to 20 in case I miscounted. This will be a list. We're actually going to go for I in range 20. X and Y will do differently. It's like 200. 160. Might as well keep this one on even at its actual place. That's a list, actually. List of dictionaries. We'd end up with a list of them. We could cycle back through them and do stuff with them as needed. You know, eventually we'll probably make it not a list. It'll be a dictionary or something that kind of references which one it is. Now, though, we just want to put a bunch of them on and make sure we're not going to have trouble. They ended up behind the background. There we go. Okay. Don't seem to have any issue there. So like this. Each item in the group can be indexed, so the list of dictionaries may not be... Yeah, no, the list of dictionaries definitely won't be needed. I'm just doing it for right now in case we want to go back and do it. We'll have a... we'll have either a big dictionary or we'll have... I don't know exactly where we're going to end up. Like, we may even have a sprite object or something. We might make something that extends to grid. This is all just... I want to blast a bunch of them on the screen and make sure we're not going to run out of memory. This is definitely not the final data structure by any means. Maybe I'll make an Octopus class or something. I may make a class that actually encapsulates all of the tentacles behavior and has just like a game tick function or something that will figure out which ones turn on and off and keep track of which ones are which and all that stuff. Is it not mem free? It is mem free. Is it different in CPython? Doesn't have a way to find it. 14608. Just to get an idea. Okay, so 20 of those took about, about 30,000. but we do still have a good chunk available. On top of that, we still have almost 4 times that amount still available. $7K, and that's 40 tentacle pieces, which is twice as many as we think we need. We will still need something for these divers up here. We'll need something for this diver. This diver only gets shown in one spot ever, though, so we can have, I think, one tile grid that just has the different tiles. Yeah, let's make that one. Break your code into sections and use the combination of GC collect and yeah, I don't necessarily need to go quite that in depth. Really what I want is just like, I don't necessarily need to understand each specific part of it, because I'm not necessarily going to try to min-max each piece of it unless we run into a need for it. Really what I want to know is just overall, with roughly what I have in mind for how to make the game, will all of it fit? And then if it doesn't all fit, then I'll start figuring out which bits are going to be most, which bits take up the most, and how can we maximize it with those bits? How can we make them more efficient? But if we don't need to, if everything will fit and we have plenty of room, the easy way, the first way that comes to mind, then I'll just leave it that way, right? Like, we don't necessarily need to optimize it if it works. So let's make a diver tile sheet. And then I think we'll also maybe make this one afterwards as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of this. So we could either do like 6 by 2, or we could do 3 by 4 and have one empty. They're both the same area. Do we actually have a common width on these things? Not optimizing if it works is how we got Windows OS to be like 10 gigs. Yeah, but I mean, like, we are constrained on a microcontroller, so if we run into the bounds, then I will work on optimizing it. But the project is supposed to be a basic project for somebody with relatively little programming experience to be able to make a fun game. They don't want to worry about that stuff. They don't want to have to solve for that. And as the person making the project for them, I don't want to necessarily have to like put that in the code and try to get them to explain it if it's like it's not really part of the game. So if we can't avoid it, then it makes sense to. Like, we are already very constrained on CircuitPython compared to Windows. We're definitely having there's no risk of inflating to that point, right? Because we just don't have that many resources altogether. 40 width on this one. This one's actually taller and narrower. So one problem we're going to run into here is these aren't equally sized, which we kind of would need them to be if we wanted to tile grid them all as one tile grid. Dang, these are quite a bit bigger. So we could fit them in a rectangle of this size, and we could just, we'll have to go back and unpack them some. Right now they're packed a little tighter. Does look like they do all fit in this size rectangle, which is 41 by 36. Some of them... Oh, no, this one's too big. 44 by 36. Some of them are like, have extra pixels in a few on some of the sides. Others are occupying the entire width or height. So this seems like the minimum width and height, the minimum size that we could use for an actual tile grid in CircuitPython, because they do, all the tiles have to be the same size. .44 by 36. Let's see here. Is this for a learn guide? Yeah, beginners aren't going to want to mess. Yeah. Yes, definitely it is. Ultimately, it's going to be in a learn guide. That is the goal for sure, and ultimately we may make some different versions of it, or possibly some other ones of the Game & Watch games. I am going to try to build it generic enough that you could hopefully remake one of the other Game & Watch games, which have very similar style of graphics and interaction, where it's like one or two buttons and, you know, the buttons aren't super complex or anything. So I'll try to make it, you know, a framework, so to speak, that will make it easy to make another one of the Game & Watch games. But the guide itself will be this one, I think. Given the retro LCD games out there, documenting your approach to the Octopus game. Yeah, totally right, C. Grover. Yeah, exactly. Not only documenting it, but I'll try to come up with some reusable chunk of the code that makes it easy if we can. So you just like could define, you know, your own data file and your own sprites, and then like, you know, maybe tweak the logic a bit if it needs something, but hopefully not have to reinvent the wheel if you want to make a different one. So we've got 11 tiles at 44 by 36. I don't really have a preference, I don't think, between 6 by 2 and 3 by 4. I don't know that it really makes a difference. That's 176. .36 times 3, that's going to be 9108. 36. So now we're basically going to do our best to center this up in each one. Copy it. And we will still ultimately go back and scale these. I don't want the background to have one in it. Okay, so this will be a bit tedious. One thing I may do is just duplicate one of them a bunch of times, and then of course I'm gonna have to come back later and actually cut them out more properly. So I'm gonna save this as diver sprite sheet. I'm gonna do that now, but then I'm gonna go and grab all of this. Oops. And instead of actually meticulously cutting each one out right now, I'm just gonna duplicate this one. Because it's gonna use the same amount of memory no matter what is in the sprite sheet, so. You're gonna drive nicely. Let's see here. Very similar, yep, to the Winamp. Winamp player, sick. Made a Winamp skin back then. Fond memories. Yeah, thank you. Sprite sheets usually draw a numbered grid in GIMP and then cut and paste into that framework. That's a good way to do it. Way you make sure you're staying within the bounds you set originally. I like that idea. Be nice. I guess there's probably a way to turn on grid lines or something. Be nice to have a thing that could just generate grid lines at a specified thickness and, you know, density or whatever inside a GIMP, or, you know, if it was like Python, it could just spit it out as a PNG or something, and then you could paste it. The way you could have it as its own layer. Turn it on and off. Okay, so I'll save this one as sprite sheet with dupes, so we have a copy of it as well. Oop. Oh, we will need to scale it. Yeah, so let's go. In order to scale it, we kind of need to flatten it. Maybe this will let us do the whole thing at once. 176 times our 0.66666666667. 117. 108 times 0.8. $86. Should I have changed mode first? Should have wrote those down. So we can see them here, 117 and 86. Oh. One thing I'll do is touch them up a bit as well. Like, I think we'll fill back in a couple pixels here, so it makes a full round head. But again, since we're mostly testing RAM right now, we don't necessarily need to do that. Right now we can, it's not going to change the amount of RAM it uses, so I'll save this, I'll export it. I guess we should, let's re-export it. Right now we do have double the number of tentacles, so we should have plenty of padding there. I'm gonna leave it at that, just as like a kind of a worst case scenario type thing. We'll tap it back down if we do start hitting the limit, and just make sure that all of our practical numbers fit within the limit. Right now though, I'm just gonna keep it inflated. That way, like, we have, you know, room on top, right? We have extra room. If we can fit inside the limit even with inflated numbers of stuff, then we should be more than fine when it comes time to actually get everything working how it's supposed to. So I'll try image load first, but of course we could also use onDiskBitmap, I think, for this. So if we need to, we could do that, and I think it would save some RAM at the cost of being slower to draw. But it's a relatively small rectangle as well, so being slow to draw might not be that visible, truthfully, so we'll have to see. Maximum headroom, yep. You could do that with a script in Photoshop. There probably is a way to do it with some kind. I think you can even do Python scripting in GIMP. I've never actually played with it. I'm sure there is a way, though. The thing about GIMP is, I mean, there really is a way to do almost everything. Everything basic, I will say. Like, Photoshop has advanced features better, like magic wands and, erasing blemishes, in skin or in packaging or photos or anything. Like Photoshop has got really good, like, advanced tools that do more advanced manipulations for sure than GIMP. But anything basic like that, there's probably a way to script it inside GIMP as well. I just have never actually gotten familiar with the way that you do the plugin scripting stuff. Okay, so actually this is, we want to change some stuff here. This we need to add our tile height and our tile width. We want more like this. Height and width is going to be 1. Tile height and tile width is going to be the size of our tile. Which was... .44 by 36. So our tile grid has only got size for one of our tiles, and it will just be showing a tile at any given time. And let's just move it down for now. Yep, we need to fix this. Oh. We have a problem here. We need this. This still needs to divide evenly. 3 and 4. but we need, we can't use that exact. We need to figure out the closest thing divisible by 4 on this one and 3 on this one. So 116 is probably divisible by 4. Or we would have to go up to 120 for the next one. $86 needs to be divisible by 3. 87 would be divisible by 3. Or 84. I feel like we should probably go down instead of up. 116 and 84. Let's try that. These are also the pre-shrunk size, so the size we actually have is whatever. So that's actually 29 by 84 over 3. 28. Weird that they ended up so close together. I guess that makes sense though, because we are warping the aspect ratio a tad. 29 by 28 will actually be this. There we go. Color, background. Oh no, did it swap back again? What? There we go. And I will say, coming through the camera here, I don't know if it'll get any better. I guess one thing we could always do is the brightness trick, right? I was gonna say though, is like to the naked eye, the some of those lines don't quite. They almost look like they're gone. Yeah, this does look a little better. I did move it in, so now my focus is also off, but there we go. With the brightness on max how it was, it kind of washed out as like real skinny arms and legs there, but they are still here. You can still see them. We could also do something fun, like we can have a little bit of animation now, so we can just make sure that doesn't throw a wrench into anything. We could say, well, and we ended up with this 84. It took up a good chunk. We were at about, I think, like 114 before. Last time we ran without this one. Yeah. Took up about another, 20 or 30K. So we don't have room for too many more things like that. However, I will say we don't need too many more things like that either. The other thing we would need is this bit, which is a 2x1 bitmap and then a 1x1 tile grid at that tile size. I feel like that should be pretty comparable, if not a little less than what we used here. We need up here. We do need these ones up here. These could maybe be on disk bitmaps because they won't be moving around too much. I think they just kind of more or less exist or don't exist. I'll have to watch the gameplay some more. I guess those are from here, so we may end up, I guess, with another sprite sheet for those. And then we do still need text somewhere for the score. Yeah, so that's kind of the last couple like major things we're looking at, I think, as far as like objects that will consume, you know, potentially a decent chunk-sized piece of RAM there. So I think we'll try to mock the rest of those out, see if we can fit them, and if so, then we'll continue down this path of trying to do it this way. So let's do play. We might as well do a bit of animation, right? What's the good in making an example with some sprite sheets in it if you don't go ahead and make them do some fun animations? So let's do that. Let's get time. Is that right? Square brackets, or do you do 2 and 1? Okay. If it is over 3, we're just gonna put it back on 0, basically, because we have a bunch of duplicates in our sprite sheet, right? So if we loop over all of them, it's actually just gonna be still for a bunch while it does all the copies. But we can iterate the first 3, and it should change each time. Yeah, there we go. I think we maybe are still duplicating one frame, potentially. Are we off by one there? Feels like we were on one of them, you know, an extra tick. Yeah, there we go. I mean, that's pretty good, and we could still probably speed it up from there. That's definitely way faster than the original game would have been animating. Honestly, might even stick it to 3. Like, you know, 3 moves per second is pretty fast for a for this type of old school display. And so we're still sitting around 84 free. Cool. Alright, so I think we're probably not going to get to the point where we're actually coding the game itself today. But I am happy that I got a bunch of these, a couple of the beginning tile sprite sheets set up, and also just validating again that we're not going to like run out of RAM, because if we needed to come up with a different way to build it, it'd be good to know that before we really do spend too much time actually building it. These ones will be weird, actually. Maybe we should cut these out separately. Actually, one's one taller. $47 by $50. So that's what, 8094? So I will save the GIMP of this as diver caught. Oops. I will go mode indexed. I was gonna try to hold out, but I think I am not going to. I'm gonna run to the restroom and I'll be right back in a minute, and I'll finish up this. Okay. So we need indexed. We need to scale this one down. We should be able to just go same thing we did there. 94 times 0.66 repeating. We'll just need to make sure that we do still have evenly divisible by 2. So 62 would be divisible by 2. And then 0.8 and 50 should be 40, I think. Yeah. Glad it checked. This is now 31 by 40. Just put this one further in a bit. Just make sure that draws. If so, we'll animate that one as well. How width must exactly divide bitmap width. Right. I see. There we go. So of course we'll figure out, where exactly that lines up over here, but let's also animate that one. Looks like this was right. This one only has 2. We could use a, what do they call that one? Ternary, I think? Is that a ternary? Then we'll just go back and forth. Nice. Sweet, it's coming together. We got, I mean, obviously we got a lot of work to do to get the actual game, but we got some of the parts and pieces coming together. It's looking like Octopus. You know, this makes me think of the game, which is ultimately, since this is a remake, right, nostalgia is kind of what we're after. I didn't actually play this one, obviously, but, you know, I think this is definitely looking like it. If you did play this, this will definitely, I think, you know, trigger some memories for you, give you some nostalgia for playing it. Of course, if you liked it, you know, if you played this game and hated it, then you'll probably hate this version too. But it'll make you think about it, and that's what we're really after here. Is, you know, give folks who didn't have a chance to play it the opportunity to experience it, you know, in as close of a way as we can, and then you know, give other folks who did play it a chance to kind of like relive it. One interesting question will be what do we want to do for buttons, because the original game has right and left buttons on the right and left side. Of course, we do have a joystick, so we could, of course, use right and left on the joystick, but then you're doing both with your left hand. You know, I guess we could go left on the joystick and right is the A button, but that also feels weird, because then you have two different things. I'm almost thinking start and select might be the way to go. We just reuse the start and select buttons as right and left, and then, you know, just A and B and joystick don't do anything for this game. Maybe for the menu or something, you know, maybe there's a menu of like press A to start over or something like that. You know, maybe we could use it somehow, but has the game LCD look? Yeah, I'm definitely digging the way this is turning out. I'll probably experiment as well with this version that has the stuff faintly in the background, because I'm curious if that, curious how that ends up looking, if that kind of adds to the effect or what. Because this is kind of more like how you would see it on the actual display if you were playing. Slip that one in, see how it looks. I'm feeling pretty good about this, though. I got a good start on it. We have not hit any issues. We're at 82 now, so honestly, the cot diver only added an additional, like, 2K? Seems awfully small, but I guess, I mean, it is a much smaller sprite sheet, I suppose. I guess that does kind of make sense, yeah. I mean, we got plenty of room. We are still doubled up even. We're making 40 tentacle segments, so we're going to have room to come down some there. I'm thinking we got plenty of room here. What did I name this background? This one was different. Some of the games had contrast issues that revealed the display ghosting. Yeah. Oh, optional would be fun. Yeah, there we go. That'll be something we can use some of the other buttons for as well. Maybe we'll have, you can use, well, I mean, we could have a settings menu or something as well where we have an arrow or something, but I like that idea. Let's have a setting where it can use the one with the faint little shadows in it. Yeah, this is looking cool. I'm stoked for this. I like it. Yeah. I like the effect of the animations, the way that it works like this. This does really make it feel like that old school kind of LCD display. I mean, if we said, like, at most, we would maybe have... What else would we need still at this point? We could have a sprite sheet with these four. And then we could have 3 tile grids that use that sprite sheet. And I mean, besides the text, I think that is like literally everything, isn't it? Is there anything we need after that? One thing I noticed is these are probably not going to be the same width. Are these two together? Not actually clear to me how that part works. Let's take a look and watch the boat here and see what... We got 3 divers, one of them with the bag. He drops down, there's 2 remaining. He's coming back with the bag. He gets caught here, but then 1, I guess, moved over. There was only 2 for a minute, but now there's back to 2 extras. He gets caught again. This goes back to 2 again. I guess maybe this is clock mode. Maybe this is clock mode because it has the time, and therefore it just doesn't, maybe it just doesn't track score. Because also it would be putting the score up here, I think, and therefore maybe it's also not actually like losing lives. Maybe it's just infinite. So now it has a 0, so I think now we're actually in the game. So it does say game A here now as well. And you see he's able to spam, the player is able to spam and grab more treasures. And when you drop them off, you can have like multiple. You can drop off multiple at a time. This time it looked like he only grabbed 1. Oh, but he did go back. Looks like maybe you get some points when you first grab them, and then you get more points when you take them back. So like each treasure is maybe worth 2 points total. 1 when you grab it, 1 when you drop it off. This guy's too good at this game. Oh, there we go. Okay, so he got. Yeah. I think we were in clock mode before. So in game mode, you'll either have 2 standard divers and nothing, or you'll have, well, on the right, you'll either have 2 or 1 or 0 standard divers. On the left, you'll either have nothing or you'll have the diver with the bucket, or possibly the one with his arm. So I think actually, is there a difference? I mean, these two are the same, aren't they? Is there any difference? I don't see it. So I'm thinking we cut this one out by itself. We can just on-disk bitmap it. It's not going to be moving around. It's just going to be disappearing or reappearing as those 2 on the right side of the boat. So it doesn't have to refresh that often. I think on-disk would probably be fine for this one. We do need to scale it. Just need the numbers, yep. 7-segment font, yeah. I think I will probably try to find a nice 7-segment font. I know, yeah, you've got one used in the calculator. I think Kmatch found one at one point, used it on the switch input, or I'm not sure the name of that widget. There's like a number widget, I think, where it can count up or down with some buttons. I think there's a nice like 7-segment font that's in the example with that. I think I will try to find a font though that's 7-segment. I'll get just digits. I don't need letters or anything. Maybe I'll get a colon if we want to also have a clock mode. Yeah, I'll get that font. I'll preload just those characters, and we'll make a label with the custom font. That'll be the score up there. So that'll take a little bit of RAM as well, but I will reduce the font down to just the digits. And so that, you know, we'll get rid of the whole alphabet. Honestly, that'll take out a lot of the space that's going to take up. We're currently at 16 by 21, so we need to go 16 times, whoops, 10. And this one, we don't need to be any particular, we don't need to be divisible or anything. I might even go to 11 just to increase the likelihood we still have a 1 pixel armpit there. Like if that gets rounded off, then it won't look as good. So in fact, we may even be able to get by with like actually just having it that big. I wonder. So 21 times 0.8, that's going to be what is that, 16 or something? Yeah, 17 maybe. Okay, yeah, we do still have the arm cutouts there. That's all right. So let's copy that. Put it in its own thing here. Make sure the sure we're on. Okay, so we want indexed. It's because I pasted in a new one. It was indexed, but when it pasted to the new one started as not by default. Do we want to fill in right here? I almost feel like we should maybe have this pixel. Kind of nitpicky, but while we're here. Does that make his head too square? Yeah, it does, kind of, doesn't it? Okay, we'll leave it like that. So these are the extra life divers. And this can basically just be another on-disk bitmap, I think. We would probably have room to image load it, so I suppose we could if we did want it to draw just a hair faster, but it's so small, I think it's going to be so fast anyway, honestly. Can you make 2 tile grids from 1 bitmap, or do we need 2? Hey, you should be able to, right? We do need 2 of these. So let's just move these to the right a bit, right at the top there for now. And we ended up with, what was the width? 11, so maybe we go over by about, I don't know, 13 or something? Oh, wow. That's odd. Having a layering problem again? Is this because we're... And background gets added right there. Oh. Yeah. Remake main group after we had the background in it. Just numbers, punctuation, and hex alpha. Yeah, thank you. 15 is where I had the extra one. I'll scoot him just a hair more, honestly. We could go like 33 for the first one, and then maybe the 13 does look pretty good, so let's try 46. Of course, we have our like diagonal bar of tentacle segments kind of in the way, but it's pretty good. It's probably not lined up perfectly, and we'll go back and, you know, tweak that to get it right. Of course, it's going to come down a bit as well, so looking pretty good there, though. What are we at memory-wise? 81. Plenty. Yeah, we'll have the last one over there will be the farthest left one. That will be that'll be another two character sprite sheet. We'll have both of these in one. Both of these two in one sprite sheet, I think. Although this one is quite a bit wider. Actually, a lot wider. At most, though, this will be another 2x1 for these with a single tile grid from it. And that's basically all the components we need to be able to play the game, I think. Let me get a good look at this first one here. I'm trying to figure out when does it use the bag and when does it use the other one. I guess is that like when he's bringing a bag back, maybe? Drop off, he has a bag in his hand, but when he's going down, maybe he doesn't? Like this auto played. Yeah, okay, so at the very beginning there, he did not have the bag. This time he got caught. So like right there, the diver is without the bag. Got caught again, so now he's reset and he has no bag. When he actually does get the treasure, now he does have the bag. Although he gets all the way back up and he still doesn't have it. Oh, there we go, okay. He gets there, he has one frame like this, and then he pulls the bag. I wonder if he does it one time for each treasure that he got. Nope, looks like just once. Yeah, he pulls it up once, and then that's when it counts however many treasures are in the bag and adds them to your score. So I do think we'll do a 2x1 sprite sheet on that one. It'll pretty much always be static XY in this location. We'll just hide and show it as needed when he's gone, and then set the index as needed to make him lift the bag out. It does look like, does he go down without? Yeah, while he's going down, he has no bag. He's got nothing in his hands there. Still nothing there. I mean, he's grabbing the rope, it looks like, but this time he actually doesn't have anything. Maybe he didn't get it. There we go. Okay, once he actually gets treasure, that's when he starts having the bag. But yeah, when he goes down, he has none. What is the little claw thing? What is like this one? Is that part of the bag, or did that just get... Have I mean, I haven't scaled this, so this is the original sprite sheet. That should be filled in, right? That's the bag. Yeah. Oh, got caught. Yeah, I think when I do finish up that sprite sheet, I don't know why these have like these kind of cutouts in them, but I think we'll fill that in because that, as far as I can tell, that's supposed to be the bag. So this is him like shoveling from the treasure chest into the bag. You know, these two right here. Well, these three actually. This is like reaching into the treasure chest, pulling some back, pulling it all the way back and shoving it in the bag. And then there's holding the bag on the way back. This is also holding the bag on the way back. This one will fill in. That one's got the bag and he's got his hands on the rope. Well, one hand, one foot. This is the one without the bag. This is the one with... So they basically alternate. Without bag, with bag, without bag, with bag. Back and forth. No bag, bag, no bag, bag. This one actually has bag on the other side. So these last three are separate. These ones are at the bottom where he's like shoveling it in. Okay. Okay. I feel like we're pretty close. Obviously, we got this one still to cut out, and then I of course still have to cut out the actual rest of these. We have our dummy sprite sheet right now with all of those duplicates in it. You know, we also obviously will still need to cut out all the tentacles and stuff as well. So definitely still got a fair amount of you know, some of the more tedious stuff to do. But I think anybody who sees this stream or the VOD of it will get the gist of like what kind of stuff I'm cutting out. I may do some of the more meticulous photo editing off stream, and then once it gets time to actually start writing up the code, of course, that I'll definitely be jumping back on whenever the time comes to do that stuff on stream, because I think it'll be good to see for folks how the code comes out. But let's see here. Let me catch up. Manually created this font, could be easily modified if needed. Oh, nice. Just numbers, punctuation, and hex alpha. Looks great. Yep, definitely. Bubble LED look. Is there a size limit to the BDF if I want to make my own? There is. I mean, there's a limit of... well, I mean, like, the file format itself does not enforce a limit. If you aim to use it in CircuitPython, there will be a limit of memory. Ultimately, you can only load a font file that is so big. And it also does scale with the size of the font. So, like, if you have a BDF font file that is, you know, a 12-point font, and you have the same font, but it's like a, you know, 30-point instead, then that 30-point one will be a bigger BDF file. So, but the limit is really like how much RAM you have in CircuitPython, not just generally like the BDF has a file limit. Another thing I'll mention too, though, on fonts, there is another file format called PCF, which is more compressed, basically, tends to be smaller. And so that can save some RAM. If you use that PCF instead of BDF, those font files tend to end up smaller, so then they don't take as much RAM when you actually load them. The temp display on my TFT is like 100 pixels high, looks really pixelated when scaled up. Couldn't find any really large ones. Biggest ones were about 36. I have to make my own if I want it to look clean. Yeah, that is true. You don't find a lot of huge BDF fonts. Honestly, BDF, it seems like kind of a rare font format. Most PCs and phones and things are using more vector style font formats like OTF and TTF, which are vectors somehow. They're not like bitmap graphics inside there. And then when people are using BDF graphics, they tend to be for relatively small, like embedded type environments like this, and so they pick small ones. But you totally can, like, you can convert a TTF or an OTF over to BDF with this conversion utility. So you totally can just like go to Google Fonts or wherever you want to get your font, download a file from there, then convert it and spit out one of whatever size you want. It's arbitrary. You can set it, you know, if you want 0.12, you just input that, or you want 0.30, you input that. It's pretty straightforward stuff. I mean, it's you know, you got to know the right tools to do it, but it's not not super, not too many gotchas or anything. You just kind of run the command and it spits it out for you super quick. Large 7-segment digit could be built from a sprite sheet. That's true, yeah. This one, in fact, here, it does have the sprites for the 7 segments. So if we wanted to make them like bitmap graphic instead of a label, then we could do that. Or, I mean, realistically, we could probably even turn this bitmap data here into a PDF file. I don't know how to do that part of it, but that is probably possible. I think what I'll do is I'll probably end up finding another one. I'll use either cgrovers or I'll use the one that's in the example elsewhere, and I think it's display layout. Check out both of those and see which one is closest to the right size, and then maybe re-render one at a different size if we need to. These ones are kind of like italic a bit, like the top half is nudged to the right a bit compared to the bottom half. You know, I guess if we wanted to keep it original looking, we could do that. I don't like it as much. In fact, here they're straight. Yeah, I think I like it straight better. I don't really like the italic look on it too much, especially because when we scale it down, it's going to be all pixelated. I mean, these are going to be like 1 pixel wide anyway. Like, I don't know, you're going to struggle to really perceive that. So I think we'll just get our own font somewhere, either use cgrovers or the other one instead of trying to worry about reusing the actual one that came with this. All right, let's check the constant currently using our PDF. Nice. Alrighty, I think I'm gonna head out for now. So thank you everybody for watching. DJ Devin, C Grover in the chat, Johnny. What else do we have over on Twitch? Schmelly Orc. Thank you to all you folks. I don't know exactly when I'll be back for sure next time. Definitely on Friday for deep dive. Probably sometime before then. Maybe sometime later on tonight or tomorrow. I don't really know. It just depends on how the rest of the weekend goes, but certainly for deep dive on Friday, and then again definitely next week on Saturday for this stream at 10 a.m. Central. So yeah, thanks again for everybody watching. Have a good weekend, everybody, and yeah, I'll catch you all next time. Thanks.